Fight Chronicles MMA, exploring the mastery beyond the mayhem.
Level. That's fucking illegal.
In the past couple of years, UFC matchmaking has often felt less like a merit based system and more like a popularity contest. Rising contenders get passed over, rankings get ignored, and interim or vacant belts appear faster than fight confirmations. Fighters returning from layoffs leapfrog active contenders, while others ride multi fight skids into main events. The UFC's balance between business and sport has tilted and is getting quite noticeable. Whether it's undeserved title shots, last minute reshuffles, or keeping divisions hostage, the pattern is clear. If it makes sense, don't do it. So, without further ado, let's break down the chaos and question the logic behind the matchmaking machine. The Flyweight division. At this moment, I'm happy with the title fight as I do think that Kai Kara France deserves a shot at the champ and he could pose a tough challenge for Pantoja at UFC 317. He possesses the power to seriously hurt the Brazilian and is pretty good on the feet. Of course, Pantoja's grappling will be tough to handle, but I'm still intrigued by this fight and will be closely watching. That being said, the matchmaking for the 125ers has been shockingly bad in the past year or so. Let's talk about what happened at the end of last year at UFC 310. How are you giving a new signing a title shot in his first fight in the UFC? I don't care what Kai Asakura did in other promotions. You cannot just give a new guy an immediate shot at the champ. Test him first to see if he's really that good. Pantoja watched this guy inside 2 rounds, and it was apparent that Asakura didn't belong in there with the best. Another unreserved title shot in the same division was the one the UFC handed to Erceg, who was at the time the number 10 contender on a 3 fight win streak. I acknowledge that it turned out to be a great fight, but that does not mean that Erceg deserved it. A short notice replacement fight is one thing. This was just a random shot at the belt for a guy who was at least 2 wins away from it. Imagine that Renato Moicano got a shot at the belt instead of Arman Sarukin in the first place. Consider that it wasn't short notice and it wasn't a day's notice. That the UFC just decided to give Moicano, who was the number 10 contender on a 4 fight win streak, a shot at Makhachev. What has been happening in the flyweight division over the past year has been embarrassing to say the least. Let's move on to the bantamweights. The upcoming pay-per-view is an ideal example of what's wrong with the UFC these days. Mirab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley 2 at UFC 316. Sean lost the belt to Mirab in a 49-46 decision, went and had a surgery, and was out for 10 months. On his return, he has been awarded an immediate title shot. In the meantime, Jan is on a 2 fight win streak and both wins are against top 7 contenders in the division. He clearly deserves it, was available, and would have definitely signed the contract if he was offered the shot. Sandhagen is more deserving than O'Malley too. He dominated Figueiredo and is a fresh contender for the champ. These random rematches to guys like O'Malley are really confusing. I know people say it's because of popularity and fame, etc. But the truth is that O'Malley isn't really a pay-per-view star. If you look at his pay-per-view numbers, they aren't really anything to boast about. Even Aljo said that he was stunned by how little pay-per-view was sold when he lost the belt to Shawn. I feel as if the UFC are promoting him as a superstar and it's not really being bought by the fan base. The featherweight division. What does Movsar Evloev have to do to get a crack at the champ? This guy's on a 9 fight win streak and literally accepts anybody the UFC throws at him. Had a great fight with Sterling where they displayed incredible scrambling. Already has Diego Lopez, Arnold Allen, and Dan EJ on his resume, and is easily the best fighter at 145 outside of Volk. Even Lerone Murphy deserves the shot more than Yair. I swear Yair Rodriguez has some dirt on Dana White. He has got to have some dirt. 1 and 2 in his last 3 fights, got finished twice, once by Ortega, and has already been battered by Volk once. How does a lone win over Pitbull get you another crack at the belt? Bro's awarded bonuses and title shots for looking dynamic in his warm-ups. If he flukes the belt out of Volk's hands, he'll literally be the most undeserving champ after Jones. On the other hand, I would love to see Mofsar ragdoll him. The lightweight division isn't one of the divisions I'm extremely disappointed with in the past year or two. I recognize that there has been some poor matchmaking, but we have also had some incredible fights like Holloway Gaethje, Sarukian Oliveira, and Poirier Makhachev. I think that Sarukian versus Topuria was the right fight to make for the vacant belt. Charles is 2-2 in his last 4 fights, and beating a 38-year-old Michael Chandler shouldn't get you a title shot. However, Dana is hell bent on punishing Arman for screwing the UFC 311 main event. It is quite hypocritical that out of everybody, John Jones included, Arman Sarukian is the one who is punished by Baldy. I can live with Topuria versus Oliveira though, and it isn't as big of a shocker as some of these other title fights. The welterweights. At the moment, this division is fine as JDM is going to fight Makhachev and he does deserve a shot at the belt as he was a long reigning champ, had 5 title wins at 155 and finished 8 of his last 9 fights. The main issue here was how long guys like Bilal were ignored while the UFC was giving title shots to guys like Kobe Covington. The argument here is that Bilal has a boring fighting style. This is quite possibly the stupidest argument out there when Kobe Covington is the guy you're preferring over him. Somebody was 2-2 in his last 4 fights, with those 2 wins being against washed up versions of Tyrone Woodley and Jorge Masvidal. This is a prime example of a fighter getting a title shot based off his mouth.
His mouth has gotten him every fight, big fight that he's had.
Meanwhile, Bilal was fighting killer after killer and had wins against Burns, Brady, and Luque during that time period. To top it all off, Colby went in there and absolutely shit the bed against Leon and has since got his ass handed to him by Buckley too. A similar situation occurred in the middleweight division in the past year. In this case, it was a little better as at least Strickland had been champion before and had a very close decision with Drakus in the first fight. However, it was a rematch that nobody really wanted to see as Sean didn't earn it. After losing the first fight, he kept whining and bitching about a do-over, winning a lackluster decision over Paulo Costa and then deciding to sit on the sidelines and waiting it out. Chimaev versus Duplessis should, in all essence, already have happened. Drakus asked for it, Chimaev was ready, and the fans were calling for it too. Whittaker, being the chad that he is, took the fight. Don't know what happened in that one, but have seen videos of Chimaev serving the Reaper. AI is getting out of hand these days. The light heavyweight division. This is a strange one as there is no matchmaking occurring. Pereira and Prohaska are the only guys who can fight for the belt on merit. Poatan is apparently not in a hurry to fight again, and Yeri declined the title shot as he has exams. Bro probably consulted the ancestors in some cave in the Bohemian forest and was decided to advise to reject it. Shape the mind before the blade, or some shit like that. Ankalaev did get screwed here for the past year or so though. The Pereira Prohaska rematch and Pereira versus Roundtree were both fights that should not have happened when Big Ank was there. He was the clear contender and deserved a championship fight before those guys. Even now, it's literally the UFC's job to get these guys to fight, and they're basically playing the waiting game, hoping that somebody comes in and saves the day. Talking about a waiting game, the heavyweight division, or more accurately, the John Jones charade. This is one of those situations where there is no justification at all. Everybody knows Dana and Jones are pulling BS, and there is nothing anyone can do about it. Aspinall has had to defend an interim belt for goodness sakes. Since the start of 2021, there have been only 2 heavyweight title fights. 2 fights in 4 years. Jones is preserving the belt like it's some sort of museum piece. It's obvious he's ducking Aspinall and he should have been stripped years ago. Fighting old man Stipe once in 3 years is diabolical. Keeps talking about legacy fights. For the past 4 years, all that legacy's been about is speculation, inactivity, and tweets. It's ironic how this man thinks he is protecting his status when in reality he's just behaving like an obnoxious idiot and putting another stain on an already tainted career. To conclude, the UFC matchmaking has really been going downhill these past 2 years. A lot of undeserving fighters keep getting title shots, and there are guys absolutely killing it on 8 or 9 fight win streaks who continuously get ignored. I know Dana keeps advertising it as the best fighting the best, but that's really not been the case in the recent past. It's starting to get quite frustrating as a fight fan, and I hope it changes quick. That's all for this video, and I hope you enjoyed.
Fight Chronicles MMA, signing off.